Yeej Chan is a wonderful artist. In case you haven't heard of her before, these are some of her illustrations. Her rendering style is just pure eye candy to me. She has this stylized, cute art style that uses a lot of vibrant colors. And so, I decided to try and emulate her art style by creating an illustration. Before getting started, I went to her Twitter to find good reference images. While I still used other illustrations from her as guides, I wanted to pick one that was simple but still showed off her dignified style for my main reference image, so that I could follow along easier and focus on the character's rendering. After a bit of digging, I found exactly what I was looking for. Then I remembered that I had watched a YouTube video of hers before, explaining her art process. But when I went to her channel, I found something even better. It was a video explaining her process for the same illustration that I picked to be my main reference. After watching the video and being appalled by her rendering, cause I mean look at this stuff, here's some stuff that I picked up. Number 1. She often doesn't create line art, but instead cleans up her sketch or goes straight to coloring the illustration. Number 2. Her shadows have bounce light. Number 3. She uses layer effects such as multiply, add, or overlay to build up the framework before rendering. Number 4. If there are still colors that she feels are missing, she manually adjusts the image using curves. Number 5. And I think this is the most important one by far. 70 to 80% of the work goes into rendering. If you watch her time lapses and video tutorials that I do have linked in the description by the way, after creating a solid foundation, she just goes wild rendering for almost the entire video, which shows her mastery over colors, values, and painting. Now, with all of that being said, it's finally time to start creating my own illustration. I wanted to draw a girl that had a simple expression and simple pose, as to focus on rendering later on. I ended up going for a blonde girl with an outfit I had found on my Pinterest feed. After my initial sketch was done, I decided to make line art for two reasons, even though Yeej Chan doesn't. First, it'd make coloring the base colors a lot easier for me, and since it won't be sketchy, I'd have an easier time when rendering as well. And second, I just felt more comfortable with line art. I think it turned out pretty well if I do say so myself, especially with the face. I think I captured the big-eyed moe type of face Yeej Chan's art has, as well as the simple expression of her characters. Moving on, for the base colors, I usually just go with unsaturated light colors. However, I saw that EJ actually used darker colors for her base, and they were more saturated as well. I still don't know why she did this, so if you could tell me, please do. But regardless, I still followed in her footsteps, and got the same effect by making my base colors like usual, but adding a multiply layer on top of everything to make it darker. Here is mine compared to hers. For the lighting of my illustration, I chose to go for a similar light source as the one from my main reference, since it would double as me getting out of my comfort zone in terms of lighting as well. After adding a bluish multiply layer, I went straight into my addition layer and just lassoed out the light parts to fill in. I also used this trick of making it grayscale for this part to make it easier for myself. After this comes layer effects. I used a mix of overlay and screen to make some areas lighter and more saturated due to the light bouncing or dispersing. I also used them near the bottom as to give the effect of light bouncing from the floor back to the character. Yeej Chan also does this in her illustration video. Here is the before and after. As you can see, it's starting to look good. However, now comes the most difficult part to get right. Rendering. Yeej Chan's rendering is masterful. She adds details to areas and moves on to the next. I felt like rendering that way would have been too complex for me though. So here's a rough outline of what I ended up doing instead. First, I found an area I felt like rendering. For example, the shirt or the hair. Then, I used the selection tool to make sharp edges and add colors I felt like would be pleasing to the eye. I also made sure not to focus on perfection, as you can see here. Next, I would add layer effects that I felt like would enhance the artwork or make the colors pop more. Lastly, I'd add the outline or line art that would either be darker or would contrast highly to the surrounding colors. I think that's a pretty good summary of what I did. It's hard to fully explain rendering since it's so complex. I think it would take other videos to explain it. By the way, most of the time I felt lost during this part of the illustration and had to change things until everything looked correct. So if you struggle with rendering, just know that I'm right there with you. And with all of that out of the way, here is the final illustration in 3, 2, 1. I think I did a pretty good job, but let me know what you think in the comments. Here it is next to Yeej Chan's illustration, and if you want to watch me draw, I usually stream on YouTube, so please sub and hit that bell.